Welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told as podcast. This time, we're diving into a story that blends faith and space, and a really unusual interpretation of the Bible. Get ready to explore the world of Heaven's Gate.
It's a group that even decades later still sparks so much debate. Were they a cult? Were they simply misunderstood? We're going to take a deep dive into their beliefs, their practices, and ultimately their tragic end.
Okay, so to really understand Heaven's Gate,
Yeah.
we need to go back to the beginning, right? To their founders, Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles. What's interesting is their backgrounds couldn't have been more different.
Exactly. Applewhite came from a relatively traditional background, son of a Presbyterian minister, even served in the military. Nettles, on the other hand, was a nurse, deeply into astrology and the occult. But in 1972, their paths collided. And that's where the Heaven's Gate story really begins.
Well, it's not just any meeting. It was like something out of a prophecy. They believed they were the two witnesses described in the book of Revelation.
Right, those figures who would appear before the apocalypse, they took this quite literally, believing they were chosen to guide people to a higher level of existence.
And that higher level is where things get really interesting. They called it the next level, or the evolutionary level above human. And it was all tied to their unique blend of Christianity, New Age beliefs, and a heavy dose of ufology.
It was during a time when a lot of people were searching for spiritual meaning, exploring alternative religions. Applewhite and Nettles tapped into that, offering a sense of belonging, purpose, even adventure.
And they weren't afraid to make bold claims. They talked about ancient astronauts, alien intervention in human history, and the idea that Earth was about to be recycled, literally wiped clean.
That sense of urgency of impending doom was key to their message. They believed that the only way to survive this cosmic cleansing was to leave their human bodies behind and ascend to this next level.
So how did they actually attract followers with this pretty out there belief system?
Well, they were charismatic, especially Applewhite. They traveled across the U.S. holding meetings, giving lectures, even appearing on TV talk shows. And they tapped into the power of the internet early on, creating a website in the early 90s to spread their message. Remember, this was the dawn of the internet, so having a website was a pretty big deal.
It's amazing how they used technology to reach a wider audience. Now, their early days were marked by a lot of movement. They lived a nomadic lifestyle, constantly on the move, often relying on donations and odd jobs to survive.
This nomadic phase was crucial for solidifying their group identity and their control over their followers. They adopted a strict, almost military-like structure. Members renounced their possessions, severed ties with their families, and even adopted new names.
Talk about commitment. They even believed in celibacy. And get this, 8 men in the group, including Applewhite, chose to undergo castration. That's a level of devotion that's hard to even fathom.
It highlights the extreme measures they took to detach themselves from their earthly existence. They saw the human body as a vessel, a temporary container for the soul, something to be shed in order to reach the next level.
And to further avoid worldly attachments, they went through a series of name changes. Human Individual Metamorphosis, Total Overcomers Anonymous. Finally, they settled on Heaven's Gate.
These name changes reflect their evolving ideology and their desire to remain hidden from authorities and the public eye. But they couldn't stay under the radar forever.
It's almost like they created their own unique mythology, blending biblical elements with science fiction. But their story takes a really dark turn in 1985 with Bonnie Nettles' death.
Her death from cancer
No.
was a huge blow to the group and really challenged their belief system. They had initially believed that they would be physically transported to the next level by a UFO.
So how did they reconcile that with Nettles' death? Did they start to doubt their beliefs?
Surprisingly, no. They adapted their doctrine, claiming that Nettles had simply shed her vehicle and moved on to the next level ahead of them. This idea of the body as a mere vessel became even more central to their ideology.
It's a chilling reminder of how belief systems can adapt and evolve in the face of seemingly contradictory evidence.
Absolutely. And it set the stage for the tragic events. That unfolded in 1997. The arrival of comet Hale-Bopp in the night sky became a pivotal moment for Heaven's Gate.
Why was that comet so significant for them?
They believed it was a sign, a celestial marker indicating that the time for their ascension was near. They saw the comet as a cosmic vehicle that would transport them to the next level.
So they interpreted this astronomical event as part of their own divine plan.
Exactly. And it led them to make a fateful decision, a mass suicide that shocked the world. In March 1997, 39 members of Heaven's Gate, led by Applewhite, took their own lives in a rented mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, California.
It was a meticulously planned event. They recorded farewell messages, carefully laid out their belongings, even wore matching outfits. Black shirts and pants, brand new Nike Decade sneakers.
Each member also carried a $5 bill and 3/4. There's been much speculation about the meaning behind that. Perhaps for a payphone call, a final connection to Earth, or some sort of symbolic toll.
It's those details that really stick with you.
Yeah.
A haunting glimpse into their final moments. The method they chose was a lethal combination of phenobarbital mixed with applesauce or pudding and vodka, followed by plastic bags over their heads.
It was a chillingly orchestrated exit, carried out in stages over 3 days. Some members helped others graduate before taking their own lives.
Their bodies were discovered by a former member who had left the group and become concerned after receiving a package containing videotapes and a website update announcing their departure.
The news of the mass suicide sent shockwaves across the globe. It sparked intense debate about the nature of cults, the power of belief, and the responsibility of society in preventing such tragedies.
And it also raised questions about the role of the internet. Heaven's Gate was one of the first groups to really utilize the web for recruitment and dissemination of their beliefs.
Their website became a focal point for investigators and the public alike. It offered a window into their twisted ideology and helped piece together the events leading up to the mass suicide.
It's a reminder of the potential dangers of online echo chambers, where extreme beliefs can be reinforced and amplified without any real-world checks and balances.
But beyond the shock and horror, there's a deeper, more human story here. These were individuals who were searching for meaning, for belonging, for something bigger than themselves.
And they found it tragically, in a belief system that led them down a path of self-destruction. Their story serves as a cautionary tale about the allure of charismatic leaders, the dangers of groupthink, and the need for critical thinking, especially in the face of extraordinary claims.
It also reminds us that even in a world of science and reason, the human desire for the transcendent, for something beyond our earthly existence, can be incredibly powerful.
And sometimes tragically. That desire can lead us to places we never imagined.
Yeah, it really is a story that continues to fascinate and disturb us, even today. And you mentioned the website earlier. It's still active, right? A haunting reminder of their existence.
Almost like a digital ghost of Heaven's Gate, it raises so many questions like, who's maintaining it? Why? Is it like some kind of tribute or a way to keep their message alive? You know what I mean?
It's definitely a unique aspect of this whole story. It's almost like their digital presence has outlived them, even though their physical bodies are gone.
Yeah, and, it speaks to the enduring legacy of Heaven's Gate. They were one of the first groups to really leverage the power of the internet. For better or for worse, I guess.
Our story continues to be so relevant today, especially in our current age of online misinformation and all these conspiracy theories out there. It's a reminder that these kinds of belief systems, they haven't gone away. They've just adapted to this digital landscape. And it's more important than ever to be critical thinkers, to really question what we see and hear online, and be wary of those who claim to have all the answers.
Absolutely. We need to be able to, discern fact from fiction, especially when it comes to things that could potentially harm us or those around us.
Yeah, the Heaven's Gate tragedy, it really serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of blind faith and the importance of critical thinking.
Well, this has been a truly thought-provoking deep dive. I mean, it's a story that's both fascinating and deeply unsettling at the same time.
It really is. It's a story that forces us to confront, the complexities of human belief, the search for meaning, and I think ultimately that fine line between faith and fanaticism.
For sure. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of Heaven's Gate. And remember, keep questioning, keep exploring, and always be willing to challenge your own beliefs.